Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into Indonesian politics today.
Okay.
Specifically, we're going to be looking at the recent power shifts after the elections.
Yeah.
And we've got some really cool sources to look at.
Yeah?
We've got articles from New Mandina,
Uh-huh.
the Jakarta Post,
Mm-hmm.
and some think tank reports.
Interesting stuff.
It's a pretty fascinating time to be following Indonesian politics, wouldn't you say?
It is.
President Prabowo's new administration.
Yeah.
It's making waves already.
Yeah.
And there are some really interesting trends
Absolutely.
that are kind of popping up already.
Yeah.
So
That'd be
first
great.
up is Prabowo's cabinet.
Okay.
And it's huge.
Huge.
116 positions,
Wow.
which is the largest in over 6 decades.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And one of the articles we read described it as chunky.
Chunky.
I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the question is,
Yeah.
why such a massive cabinet? What's the strategy?
Well, it's definitely different than Jokowi's approach.
Right.
And it's not just the size, it's also who's in it.
Right.
There's this RSIS paper that breaks it down really well.
Oh, cool.
And it points out there are 10 figures who are affiliated with Nahdlatul Ulama,
Okay.
which is NU.
Right.
There are 7 people from Muhammadiyah.
Okay.
There's representation from Tarbiyah and even PBB.
Wow. So it's pretty diverse.
It's a very deliberately diverse cabinet,
Huh.
bringing in all these different religious and political affiliations.
Right. And that's a big change from Jokowi's cabinet.
It is.
His leaned very heavily towards NU.
It did.
So do you think this is a way for Prabowo to consolidate power
Oh, possibly?
by bringing in all these different groups? Is he kind of trying to build up support from a wider base?
Yeah, I mean, he could be trying to kind of solidify his position,
Mhm.
and by including all these different factions,
Mm-hmm.
maybe preventing any one group from becoming too powerful.
Interesting.
It could be a way to keep things stable and avoid conflict.
That makes sense, especially given Indonesia's history of political fragmentation.
Exactly.
But on the other hand,
Mm-hmm.
one of the articles we read,
Yeah.
a CNA article,
Mm-hmm.
raises some concerns
Okay.
about the potential downsides of having such a large cabinet.
Okay.
Do you think that this could lead to inefficiency or just like bureaucratic gridlock?
Yeah, I mean, that's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's good to have lots of voices,
Yeah.
but coordinating all those different agendas and priorities
Mm-hmm.
could be a huge task.
Yeah, it's like herding cats.
Yeah.
All those different.
100 cats,
Yeah.
all going in different directions.
Exactly.
It'll be interesting to see how he handles it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So speaking of interesting things,
Okay.
let's talk about the regional elections.
Okay.
We read this new Mandala piece
Yeah.
that was pretty striking.
What was that about?
They used the term toxic alliances to describe what's happening in politics.
Toxic alliances.
Yeah, can you explain what they meant by that?
Well, I think they were talking about how...
The political parties,
Yeah.
they seem to be putting their own interests in pursuit of power
Uh-huh.
above everything else.
Okay.
Even like their own ideologies
Right.
and even like popular figures.
Yeah, they talked about the Jakarta gubernatorial race
Yeah.
as a good example.
What happened there?
They said that Anies Baswedan, who ran against Prabowo in the presidential elections,
Right?
was basically pushed out of the running
Well,
because of all these alliances.
Wow. So even though he's popular, none of the major parties would back him.
Wow.
They all got behind Ridwan Kamil
Okay.
because he was seen as someone who was more aligned with the ruling coalition.
So it makes you wonder how much real competition is there
Yeah.
in Indonesian politics if these alliances are so powerful.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder if there's any room for like real opposition.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think we'll see this same pattern in other regions?
I think that's what we need to watch for.
There are some really key races that will be really interesting,
Okay.
like Bali, usually a PDIP stronghold.
Right.
But according to the Jakarta Post,
Uh-huh.
they're facing a pretty strong challenge from a Kim-backed candidate.
Oh, wow.
And then there's Banten
Right.
with that powerful local dynasty
Uh-huh.
going up against, guess what?
What?
Another Kim-backed candidate.
Oh, wow. So Kim is really making moves.
It seems like it.
Yeah.
And then we can't forget about North Sumatra.
Right.
Jokowi's son-in-law, Bobby Nasution.
Right.
He's the front runner.
Mm-hmm.
The Jakarta Post had some good coverage of that one.
Cool.
So these regional elections are like a mini version of national politics. It's
Okay.
where we'll see how strong Prabowo's coalition really is
Right.
and how much influence he really has.
So it's kind of a litmus test
It is.
Yeah, to see if he's really got as much power as he seems to,
Exactly.
and to see if there's any room left for other voices.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit and
I'd
just
love-
talk about some specific policy areas.
Right.
What are like the big issues facing Indonesia right now?
Oh, there are a bunch.
Yeah.
The development of IKN, the new capital city,
Right.
it's a big one.
Right.
A lot of people are worried that funding is slowing down under Prabowo.
Okay.
The Business Indonesia article talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a lot of folks are worried about the economics of this whole project.
Yeah. It's a massive undertaking.
Yeah.
So what about Prabowo's overall economic strategy?
Okay.
He formed this National Economic Council,
Right.
but the Jakarta Post said it doesn't have much real power.
Right.
What's that all about?
Yeah, it's a bit strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
Seems like maybe he just wants to keep economic policy making really centralized
Okay.
and rely on a small group of advisors.
So more of a tight-knit inner circle.
Exactly.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
What about the South China Sea?
Oh, yeah.
That South China Morning Post article described Indonesia as like trying to walk a tightrope.
Oh, right.
They're trying to get BRICS membership,
Mm-hmm.
which means closer ties with China,
Yeah.
but they're also trying to stand up for themselves in the Natuna Islands.
It's a tough balance.
Yeah, so how are they managing that?
Oh, it's a delicate dance.
Yeah.
Trying to get the economic benefits from China,
Mm-hmm.
but also protecting their own territory.
Right,
It'll be interesting to see how they handle that.
for sure. A situation to watch.
Yeah.
Okay, so this next one I thought was really interesting.
Okay.
Vice President Jibrin Rakabuming Raka
Mm-hmm.
opened a public complaint desk.
Really?
Yeah,
That's interesting.
it's a pretty interesting move.
Yeah.
I thought so too.
What's that about?
So the CNA article explained how it works.
Okay.
People can go to the palace,
Wow.
or they can message a WhatsApp number
Wow.
to voice their concerns.
That's very tech savvy,
It is.
especially for an Indonesian VP. Makes you wonder if it's a genuine attempt to connect with people
Right.
or just some kind of PR thing.
Yeah, exactly. I guess time will tell
Yeah.
if he actually acts on the feedback.
Yeah.
It could be a sign that the government's becoming more responsive
Absolutely.
and accountable.
Definitely something to watch.
Yeah, it could be a shift in how the government interacts with people.
Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if it actually makes a difference.
Yeah.
But, going back to Prabowo's cabinet for a sec,
Okay.
there's something else that's been getting attention.
What's that?
The number of former military and police officers
Oh, right.
in key positions.
Yeah, the RSIS paper talked about that.
They did.
It said it's the highest number since the Suharto era.
Yeah. It's a lot.
That's a pretty big deal.
It is.
Yeah.
And they're not just like symbolic positions.
Yeah.
We're talking important roles.
Right.
A big chunk of the cabinet.
Yeah, it's definitely sparked a lot of debate, especially among people who were worried about
Yeah.
a shift toward a more authoritarian style of government.
Right.
Yeah, I can see why that would be a concern.
Mm-hmm.
But I also wonder, like,
Yeah.
Prabowo himself is a former general.
He is.
So isn't it kind of natural for him
Yeah.
to surround himself with people he knows and trusts?
It makes sense to a point,
Yeah.
but the sheer number of appointments is hard to ignore.
Yeah, that's true.
It suggests that he's really relying on those institutions
Mm-hmm.
and maybe wants to strengthen their role in society.
So what does that mean for Indonesian politics? Like,
Sure.
what are the implications?
Well, it could go a few different ways.
Okay.
Maybe a stronger military and police presence will make things more stable,
Right.
especially with all the security challenges Indonesia faces.
Right.
But it could also mean less freedom,
Yeah.
less room for people to speak out against the government.
Right. So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
It is.
Okay. Well, let's change gears again.
Okay.
And talk about another issue. Corruption.
Oh, yeah.
Prabowo said he would tackle this head-on
He did.
when he was campaigning.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of people are skeptical.
I can see why.
Yeah, because his cabinet's full of people who,
Yeah.
well, let's just say they don't have the best reputations.
All right.
It's kind of ironic.
It is.
Like, how can he say he's fighting corruption
Yeah.
when some of his closest allies
Yeah.
have been involved in shady stuff?
Yeah, some of those appointments were surprising.
Yeah,
I guess we'll see if he actually holds them accountable.
yeah. Actions speak louder than words.
Exactly.
So let's bring it back to the regional elections again.
Okay.
We've talked about the national stuff,
Yeah.
but what about the impact on regular people,
Oh, it's huge.
really?
These governors and mayors,
Yeah.
they make decisions that affect people's everyday lives.
Okay.
Education, healthcare, infrastructure, economic development.
So it's not just some abstract political game.
No, it's not. It's about real people's lives.
Right. So these elections have consequences.
They do.
Yeah.
And people need to get involved,
Yeah.
make their voices heard.
Right. And hold their leaders accountable.
Exactly.
Okay. So speaking of the future,
Yeah.
what are some of the long-term challenges Indonesia's facing?
Well, there are a few.
Yeah.
Economic inequality is a big one.
Right.
Indonesia's done a good job reducing poverty,
Uh-huh.
but the gap between rich and poor is still really wide,
Okay.
and that can cause a lot of problems.
Right.
Social unrest and stability.
Right. And then there's climate change,
Well, yeah.
a global problem.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it hits Indonesia really hard.
It does.
They're one of the most vulnerable countries.
Right. Rising sea levels, extreme weather events.
Yeah.
Fewer natural resources.
That's a lot to deal with.
It is.
Yeah. It sounds like Prabowo has his work cut out for him.
Yeah, he does.
These are tough problems.
They are.
No easy answers.
Nope.
So let's go back to Prabowo's cabinet one more time.
Okay.
We've talked about the size,
Mm-hmm.
the religious makeup, the military presence. But what about their competence?
Right. Are they actually qualified?
Yeah. Like, are they up to the job?
It's a mixed bag.
Okay.
Some of the appointments have been praised,
Okay.
like Sri Mulyani Indrawati as finance minister.
Right. She's got a good track record.
She's a respected economist.
Yeah. She seems like a safe choice.
Yeah, someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
But then you have appointments like Budi Ari Setiadi
Right.
as Minister for Cooperatives.
Okay.
He's a former volunteer group leader,
Uh-huh.
no government experience.
Really?
Yeah,
That's a big jump.
it is a bit of a gamble,
Yeah.
appointing someone with no experience to such an important role.
Yeah. I guess Prabowo's hoping he can learn quickly.
I guess so.
It'll be interesting to see how it all works out.
It will.
This big cabinet, all these different people, different levels of experience.
Yeah,
Seems like there's a lot of potential for conflict.
there is.
Yeah. And just like things not working smoothly.
It's like a big experiment.
Yeah, exactly.
Can he get them all to work together?
Yeah.
And what about his leadership style?
Mhm.
How will that affect things?
Yeah, we've seen a little bit of his approach.
Yeah,
Definitely seems more assertive than Jokowi,
he is.
more decisive.
Yeah, do you think that's a good thing?
I don't know.
Like, is that what Indonesia needs right now?
I'm not sure.
It depends who you ask.
Yeah.
Some people like the strongman approach.
Mm-hmm.
They think it shows strength and decisiveness.
Right.
But other people are worried.
Yeah.
Worried about authoritarianism.
Like that cabinet retreat he held.
Right.
That was kind of military style.
Yeah, a lot of people found that a bit unsettling.
Yeah, it sent a message.
It did.
And then the National Economic Council thing.
Right.
No real power.
Yeah. Seems like he likes to be in control.
Yeah.
Not a big delegator.
So is Prabowo basically Suharto 2.0?
Ooh.
Are we going back to authoritarianism?
It's too early to say. We
Yeah.
have to wait and see.
Okay.
But there are signs of,
Things to watch out for.
So it's a bit worrying,
Yeah, a little bit.
but also fascinating.
It is fascinating.
Okay, well, let's talk about Islam in Indonesian politics.
Okay.
It's a tricky topic.
It is.
Always sensitive.
Yeah.
Prabowo's had to be careful about it.
He has.
His whole career.
Yeah.
We talked about how he's included different Islamic groups in his cabinet.
Right?
Seems like a move towards inclusivity.
Yeah.
But what about his overall approach?
Really?
Religion.
Compared to Jokowi,
Yeah.
he's seen as more conservative.
Okay.
He's close to some of the more conservative organizations,
Uh-huh.
and he talks about traditional values.
Okay. But he also has to be careful
Right.
not to upset the moderate Muslims.
Yeah, they're a big part of the population.
Right. So he's trying to appeal to everyone.
He is. It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
Especially in a country as diverse as Indonesia.
Yeah. How's he doing so far?
Hard to say for sure.
Yeah.
He's been pretty quiet,
Mm-hmm.
not making any big statements.
Okay. Seems like he's focused on the economy and national unity.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Those are things that bring people together,
Right.
not divide them.
But that doesn't mean the religious tensions are gone.
No, they're still there.
Yeah.
Just below the surface.
Right.
Could erupt at any moment.
Yeah, if things aren't handled carefully,
Exactly.
it's a reminder that religion is a big factor in Indonesian politics.
Yeah,
It can be a source of unity, but also a source of division.
absolutely.
Okay, well, let's switch gears one more time.
Okay.
Let's talk about foreign policy.
All right.
What are Prabowo's priorities internationally? What kind of image is he trying to project?
Well, he's definitely been making moves.
Yeah.
One thing that's clear is that he wants to get closer to China.
Okay.
Remember that South China Morning Post article
Yeah.
about Indonesia trying to join BRICS?
Right. That's a big deal.
It is.
Aligning themselves more with China and other emerging economies.
Exactly.
But at the same time, they're still trying to keep good relationships with the West.
That's right.
especially the U.S.
It's a balancing act.
Yeah, it seems pretty tricky.
It is.
So he's playing both sides,
Yeah.
trying to get economic benefits from China,
Mm-hmm.
but also making sure the West doesn't think they're switching sides completely.
Right.
I mean, it makes sense strategically.
It does.
Indonesia wants to keep its options open,
Yeah.
stay independent,
Maintain their autonomy.
but can they really do both?
That's the question.
Yeah.
It takes skill.
Yeah.
Diplomatic skill.
Yeah.
He went on a trip recently
Uh-huh.
to China, the U.S., the U.K.
So he's making an effort to engage with everybody.
He is.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he handles all these different relationships in the long run.
It will.
Okay, so let's bring it back to domestic politics.
Okay.
What about the opposition? Are there any real challenges to Prabowo's power?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Honestly, there doesn't seem to be a strong, unified opposition right now. The PDIP.
Jokowi's party,
Right.
the biggest opposition party in parliament?
Yeah. They've been pretty quiet since Prabowo won.
Yeah, it's interesting that they haven't been more vocal.
You'd think they'd be trying to take advantage of any mistakes he makes.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe they're biding their time,
Okay.
waiting for the right moment.
Okay.
Or maybe they're still recovering from the election.
Yeah.
Reorganizing.
Okay, what about the other opposition parties?
They're even smaller,
Okay.
less influential.
Mm-hmm. So Prabowo's pretty secure for now,
For now.
but that doesn't mean he can't be challenged.
No, things can change fast in politics.
Right, so what could weaken his position?
Well, a lot of things.
Yeah.
An economic crisis could hurt him.
Okay.
If people start struggling financially, they might blame him.
Right.
A big corruption scandal could be bad too,
Okay.
especially if it involves people close to him.
Yeah, that would damage his credibility.
Exactly.
And then there's always the risk of social unrest.
Yeah. If he doesn't deal with issues like inequality
Right.
or human rights.
So he's walking a tightrope domestically. It's like internationally.
Yeah. It's all about managing these challenges.
Yeah.
And keeping people happy.
It's a tough job.
It is.
Okay, well, I think that about covers it for today.
Yeah. It's been a good discussion.
Yeah, I've learned a lot.
Me too.
It's fascinating stuff.
It is.
Indonesian politics.
Always something happening.
So to our listeners,
Yeah.
thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for listening.
It's been a great conversation.
It has.
And keep exploring this stuff on your own.
Yeah. Stay engaged.
Indonesia's a country to watch.
Absolutely.
Thanks again for listening.
See you next time.